What does congruent mean?
I don't know.
To figure that out, take a look at these two triangles.
Okay.
These triangles written up on the board are congruent to one another. But what does that mean?
I don't know.
Well, let's take a closer look at these two triangles.
Okay.
What do they have in common?
They're triangles.
Well, they have pretty much everything in common.
Oh.
Let's take a look at the angles. This angle measures 60 degrees. And this angle measures 60 degrees.
Get out.
This angle measures 80 degrees. And this angle
Oh my
measures
gosh.
80 degrees.
I see that.
This angle measures 40 degrees.
No. Oh
and
my.
This angle measures 40 degrees.
That's crazy.
The angles in each of these triangles have a matching pair. Wow. And same thing goes with the sides.
No.
Here, this side has a length of 5.
Yeah.
And this side has a length of 5.
5.
This side has a length of
6.
6. And this side has a
Get
length
out.
of 6. This side has a length of 8.
Uh-huh.
And this side has a
Oh
length
my
of 8.
gosh.
And these triangles are exactly the same.
I know that now.
Except for their names.
Why?
That is what makes congruent figures congruent.
Oh.
Two figures are congruent if they are the same size and shape. So here, these two triangles are congruent to one another.
Got
And
it.
here's how we can write that. We can name this triangle ABC. Now, triangle ABC
Good
is
nickname.
congruent to the other triangle, which we can name triangle DEF.
Got it.
That is how we would write that these two triangles are congruent.
Nice.
This symbol in the middle, the equal sign with the little squiggly line over it, means congruent to.
Oh.
So this reads, triangle ABC is congruent to
It's
triangle
like an
DEF.
equal sign with
That
Donald
means that
Trump
they're
hair.
the same size and shape. Great. Now, being congruent is not just limited to figures. We could have line segments be congruent too. So let's take a look at line segments that are congruent. Here, let's draw two line segments.
Nice handwriting.
We'll have this line segment right here. We'll label this TV.
Does it
And
look like a
we'll have
TV?
this line segment right here. We'll label this GM.
Gum.
Now let's say that this line segment has a length of 4.
Okay.
And this other line segment also has a length of 4.
Mm-hmm.
These line segments are the same length. Line segments that are the same length are congruent to one another.
This lady's
So
crazy.
we can write that line segment TV is congruent to line segment GM.
Nice.
Again, using our congruent symbol, we can say that these two line segments are congruent to one another.
I see it.
Cool.
Totally see it. Cool is
Now
right.
we can also do this with angles. So here, let's take a look at some congruent angles. Let's draw two lines intersecting to
Ooh.
create some angles. We'll have this be line JY. And we'll have this line segment be NX. And we'll have their intersecting point right here be the point W. Now, let's have this angle measure 55 degrees. And we'll have this angle measure 55 degrees as well.
It's the same.
These two angles have the same angle measurement.
That's what I thought.
That means that they're congruent to one another. And of course, we can write that using that congruent symbol.
Dare ya.
Here we have angle JWX. And that angle is congruent to the other angle.
Say it,
angle
sister.
NWY.
Knew it. Knew
Since
it.
these two angles have the same measurement, they are congruent to one another.
You know it.
And here, because these angles sit opposite or across from one another, when we have two lines intersecting, these are actually called vertical angles. That
Nice.
means they will always be congruent. They will always have the same angle measurement.
So cool.
Finally, let's look at one
Whoa.
more example
What
of
happened
congruent
there?
figures.
She didn't even draw that.
These two figures that are up on the board are congruent to one another. So they're the same size and shape.
Got it.
Now, they
Congruency.
may not look like it at first, but figures do not necessarily have to be facing the same way in order to be congruent.
That makes sense.
They just have to have those matching angle measurements and matching side lengths. And if we take a close look at these two congruent figures, we can see that is true. Each of these angle measurements in this figure has a matching angle measurement in this figure.
Looks like an
And
iceberg.
each side length in this figure has a matching side length in this figure. So that means that these two figures are congruent to one another, although
Nice.
they may not look like it at first. So now we know. Two lines are congruent if they have the same length. Two angles are congruent if they have the same angle measurement. And in order for two figures to be congruent, they must be the same size and shape.
That's crazy. That lady's crazy.